Hey guys, it's Timmy, and this is Pro Wrestling Unlimited. As last night was night 2 of the Superstar Shakeup, as far as what superstars moved to SmackDown Live. Now, the reason I didn't do this video last night was because even after SmackDown went off the air, they were still announcing superstars for SmackDown in the Superstar Shakeup on WWE.com. So I wanted to wait just in case even more names did get announced overnight. And before we talk SmackDown, we have to tell you that Samoa Joe will, in fact, with the United States Championship, be moving to Monday Night Raw. Samoa Joe will be moving to Monday Night Raw. The reason they didn't do this week, it was all written and scheduled for, as we talked about earlier in the week, but he was so sick he couldn't do his segment. Now, talking about Samoa Joe moving over to Raw with the United States Championship, that leads us to our first SmackDown Superstar draftee, or whatever you want to call it, in Finn Balor. Finn Balor and the Intercontinental Championship has moved over officially to the blue brand SmackDown Live. I think this is a good move for WWE, not just moving the IC and the US title, but getting Finn Balor on SmackDown. I think SmackDown is a great place for Finn Balor to be. Finn Balor needs a refresh after coming back from his injury in 2017 and not really being used well. So this can mean not only fresh competition for Finn Balor, but also a fresh start for Finn Balor. Now going forward, we do know that Ember Moon has been moved to SmackDown Live. Ember Moon did interrupt the women's champion, Becky Two Belts, and stated that she wanted to make a name for herself challenging the champ. Before anything can happen, the next superstar that came over to SmackDown in BAYLEY actually interrupted and stated that she's now on SmackDown as a singles competitor and wants to challenge Becky as well. She wants gold, and she wants one of Becky's belts. As the three were in the ring, the Iconics would come out to make fun of BAYLEY, and then this would bring out Paige. Paige stated that she has a new tag team that she is going to be representing in the form of Asuka and this woman, Kairi Sane. Asuka and Kairi Sane are now a tag team on SmackDown, and Paige is really pushing hard that she's going to build them up to become the new WWE Women's Tag Team Champions. Now going forward, we did learn that Lars Sullivan is officially on SmackDown Live, and I like this move for one or two reasons, but it was a little confusing. Monday, they did announce that Lars Sullivan was in fact moving over to Monday Night Raw, being placed on the red brand. Then, last night, WWE officially states, no, Lars is going to be on SmackDown. I like this because Lars and Braun Strowman need to be kept separate, need to be kept on different brands. Lars Sullivan destroyed R-Truth, kind of gave that, ooh, I like you eyes to Carmella before she did get out of the ring. One good thing about what we saw this week with Lars Sullivan, he's not doing the headbutt anymore. He's doing a vicious sit-out powerbomb. We then got a video package stating that Buddy Murphy, the former Intercontinental Champion, has now been moved over to SmackDown Live. I love the inclusion of 205 Live guys, or should I say, former 205 Live guys being put on Raw and SmackDown now. It shows that they're willing to have growth with the Cruiserweight division. The Cruiserweight division is something that is really looked down upon. And hopefully, as we've seen with Ali, guys that move up to either Raw or SmackDown from 205 Live can get a pretty good break. Next up, we learned that Elias has been moved over to SmackDown Live. Vince McMahon called him the biggest acquisition in SmackDown history, and that's a little bit of a stretch. I stated last night on our SmackDown review that I felt Elias was better suited on Monday Night Raw. His segments just fit in better there with the longer show. And then this, Elias coming out, brought out one of the biggest moves in the Superstar Shakeup in Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns came out, Superman punched Elias, Superman punched Vince McMahon, speared Elias, got on the mic, stated that SmackDown's his yard, and boom, that is how SmackDown went off the air. Now, after SmackDown went off the air, we did learn on social media and WWE.com of 6 more superstars that have moved over in the Superstar Shakeup, starting with Liv Morgan. Former Riot Squad member Liv Morgan is now a part of SmackDown Live, and now the big question is what happens to the Riot Squad. I think this is what could happen. I don't know this to be happening, but I think what this could lead to is Ruby Riott being on her own and Sarah Logan, hopefully without a name change, being added over to the Viking experience with her husband, now known as Eric, formerly Raymond Rowe, and the former Hanson, now Ivar. Going forward, we did learn that former Raw Tag Team Champion, former SmackDown Live Tag Team Champion Chad Gable has been moved over to Monday Night Raw. Now, hopefully, this is the chance that we've wanted for Chad Gable, for him to break out as a singles competitor. Hopefully, they don't just find somebody else on SmackDown to team him up with, because really on the main roster, they've only used him as a tag team guy when, in all honesty, he's easily one of the most underrated guys that they've got on their roster that they don't do much with. He could be fighting for that IC title of Finn in great matches. Now, going forward, we did learn that Apollo Crews has been moved over to SmackDown Live, and honestly, not to knock on Apollo, but it's just a lateral move that nobody's really going to care about. Next up, as far as the women's division goes, Mickie James has been moved over to SmackDown Live. Now, this is an interesting one, as Mickie was on SmackDown a few years ago, and she was paired with Alexa Bliss. She then moved over to Monday Night Raw, still slightly associated with Alexa Bliss, but now she's on SmackDown by herself. No Alexa Bliss to keep pairing her up with, and it's going to be interesting to see how they do use the former 6-time Women's Champion on SmackDown Live. Hopefully, Mickie can be a really good staple and pillar for this SmackDown Live Women's division that has been kind of floundering over the last couple of years outside of the Beckys and the Charlottes. And finally, Heavy Machinery has been placed on SmackDown Live. The only tag team to be announced in the SmackDown Live side of things is Heavy Machinery, Otis and Tucker, and this makes a lot of sense. With putting the Viking experience on Monday Night Raw, you don't need another big Haas tag team on Monday Night Raw, especially if the AOP are close to returning or going to return at any time on Monday Night Raw. You don't need 3 big men tag teams on one division. So putting Heavy Machinery over on SmackDown, I think, is a good move. And that is everybody that's moved over to SmackDown in the Superstar Shakeup. We got a total of 14 superstars moving over compared to the 17 that did move over to Monday Night Raw. I know some people are going to say, oh, well, why did Raw get more people than SmackDown? Because Raw's the longer show, they need more time to fill. They've got more roster spots. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below on the Superstar Shakeup SmackDown side of things, Night 2. For a more, I guess you could say, in-depth breakdown kind of an analysis of the Superstar Shakeup, Nick and I will be doing that on tonight's PWUnlimited podcast at 8 p.m. Pacific. And yes, I said Nick because tonight is Nick's big return. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below on the Superstar Shakeup moves to SmackDown, who you think should have moved, who you think shouldn't have moved, and if you think any of these moves were a good idea. But that's going to do it for this episode. Remember to comment below, like and share this video, like us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, subscribe here on YouTube, and follow PWUnlimited.net for the latest in pro wrestling news.